Hey everybody, Jimmy back with the Triple C Collective presents commentary track comparisons Why the Last Man. This is episode 10, season finale, and as of right now, the series finale. Um, but let's dive in here. This was a very, when it comes to like the book and the comic and everything, this was a very heavy, book two episode. We've really stayed pretty good here. Excuse me, I want to grab something else. All right, I wanted to grab my other book. We've really, for this first season, we've stayed pretty well in book one and book two. But here in the season finale of season one, here we're even more specific into issue number 10, the final issue in the final issue in book two. Um, and this was really great. This was a really great episode. It was written by Eliza Clark, the one she's the woman who brought this show to television for this first season so far that had aired on FX, on Hulu, and it's a really great episode. It opens with a flashback dinner of like we have everyone in attendance. They bring back York and Hero's dad. We have President Jennifer Brown, maybe when she's back as a congresswoman actually still, and so we have York, Beth, Mr. and Mrs. Congresswoman Brown, and then we have Hero by herself. And it's a really unique dinner sequence. There's some like real like kind of hostility, a little bit of like what are people doing and stuff. Like Hero, like her, Jennifer Brown is like, Hero, I thought you quit smoking and stuff, and Hero's just kind of like, what gave you that idea that I stopped anything, basically. York is going on about like talking about his new show that he's going to do and how he's talking about Jesse Presley and Elvis Presley, and his dad goes, "Are you sure you really want people thinking about like a dead sibling at this point?" In the show, Beth says it's a work in progress, and York's like, "Oh, what? Do you think it still needs something? Like I thought I shouldn't have talked about it." Um, and like it's about like in York's also explanation of the everything that's going on. Like he moves from he talks about then like his trick in a little bit more, or his escape I should say, in a little bit more detail with like these different chains and stuff as well that he'd be pulling out, saying that they represent different people. Hero asks, "What about me?" Because initially he doesn't say anything about that. "Oh yeah, my sister," and he makes something up kind of on the spot, like, "Oh yeah, my sister is a paramedic, and this represents that," or whatever. And then like York's mom asks, Jennifer Brown, Diane Lane asks, "Is it? Wait a second. Are we like holding you down? Are we chains? Maybe even." His dad even mentioned something like that, and it's really funny because then Hero goes, "No, can't you see? It's about the cis white guy whose mom is who's in Congress or whatever. That's what the whole like burden is and stuff." And it was a man, tensions were running high there with Hero. But this kind of reflects a little bit of like what Hero in episode 8 with like the grilling she kind of got from like Roxanne, and then eventually like Sam leaving and everything like that. Um, that kind of seems all very reflective here in this flashback dinner scene. It also kind of made me think that this dinner scene clearly happened before the show, or at least before like most of the events of this show. But I feel like this almost might have been like a dinner that happened like a couple of weeks, like maybe right before episode one of what we saw. It From this and reflecting on like other aspects of the show and specifically Hero, this kind of adds up a little bit more into like how she was, who she is, and how she started off. to like where we see her like in this episode and at the end of this episode, and it's really great. I've come around. Eliza Clark changed me. I really like Hero. Hero turned out to be a really great character in this. I really liked her a lot more as the show went on. But that's beside the point. Like this whole dinner scene after it's because after like Hero says that Jennifer Brown's basically like they know me here and basically kind of shuts it. Like they cut. Sorry, they don't even say that. Jennifer Brown doesn't kind of even cut that conversation yet. They just simply cut to a new scene to the now. And that opening was very rough, I would say, but what an opening. What a way, what a cold open to open the final episode. Ooh, so good. So good. And but then we move on to like I would call it the now in the show of 3:55 waking up in the streets of Marysville. She has a flash to that woman who we can only assume is Fran. I watched the show with subtitles, and they don't actually name her like they name everybody else in the show, which is very telling of it. And it leads to like what Ed was saying that that this person Fran at this house could be 7-Eleven from like the comic and stuff, and I would just also have to back that up because you see who like we were introduced to that woman in the background. I said this last episode in like the flashbacks of that 355 was having from like clearly growing up in like a foster type home because the woman was wearing a badge, and then you see her later on clearly after 355 has done a mission of some kind and is all like distraught and kind of messed up about it. And she's like consoling her, telling her to like get her stuff together and everything. So I will lead with what Ed said. I believe he called it correctly, that who they're calling Fran, who I believe is the woman from the flashback and stuff, who we also get a glimpse of here saying like, wake up, where are you, like, are you okay, before we actually see that woman to be just Janice. And it's like kind of like a 355 waking up, like kind of hallucination, not really like dreariness from waking up from her most recent sleepwalking nap on the streets of Marysville. And so good. And so she was sleepwalking again. We've seen this a bunch throughout the whole season, that this has been a thing for her. You know, she almost walked off the edge. She almost walked off another edge. This time she clearly walked and like got to some sort of edge because she stopped. Like, and it's not like when we saw them in the church, where she walked, like where she was just going to keep walking and possibly could have just fallen over like that red ledge railing that they had there. This was something that she clearly walked out of her bed, out of the room, out of the house, and just like got to the end here, which is something we haven't really seen in that, which is interesting. That like we see a kind of finality of her sleepwalking there. But at the same time that we have that, we then cut to a little bit later in the day, because that's like in the morning, very clearly in the morning. Then we got this later in the day, you know, probably early morning, before early afternoon or whatever, and we see Nora and Roxanne, you know, horseback riding, getting to a car barrier, and this car barrier is clearly the barrier of Marysville, for where all the women there with York and 355 and Man and Ampersand all are. This is all directly from like the showdown in book 2, because that's what happens here, and that's like specifically what is going on in like the final issue. It's all about the showdown in the fight of Marysville, which is what they're giving us here. They are laying it out for us right here. And if you haven't been if you haven't gotten that from this far, if you've been a fan of the comic, because you could have been going into this cold, and just like kind of like what is this all leading to, what's gonna happen here, like because we know the people of Maristown. So like if you haven't read the comic at this point, you're like, we know the people of Marysville have Marystown. Why do I keep saying that? Marysville have weapons. Like we've seen them have them, use them, all that kind of stuff. We know that they know how to handle themselves, and that that they do actually have some kind of like hierarchy, government way of not ruling but governing. Yeah, I guess their people, which is really different than what we're seeing as like this other like power in the Amazons with like Roxanne, and everything is like as she says, what she kind of wants and what she's putting forward and stuff. So it's all very all of that stuff is very interesting, but I'm getting off on a tangent here. So we see Nora and Roxanne get to the car barrier. We cut to 355 and Dr. Mann into the greenhouse, and Dr. Mann drops some really great lines here, like no, let him go. He likes him. Amp likes me more than Yorick anyway. And like we've seen Dr. Mann the entire season, or well, once she got introduced to us, the entire season she's always just been trying to make friends with Ampersand. I'm telling you, if we see a season 2, we're gonna get an episode where she tries to steal Amp and just run off on her own. I'm telling you, it'll happen. It'll happen in season 2, maybe season 3, but it'll happen. It would be great. It'd be a great little side visit, little side quest. But so we get that, and then we also get the other line of Dr. Mann saying, "Well, I'll just tie you to the bed. I mean, like, to help you from stop sleepwalking. Never mind." And like Dr. Mann has one of her really awkward like one-liners, like conversations, and it's great. It's great. It's so reminiscent of like the book, and like this was also a really great episode of showing the relationship building, of like making this stuff like really personal, which is like what the comic and what you stayed for the comic for, or at least a lot of what you stayed for the comic for, was the personal relationships that you were getting between York and 355 and Dr. Mann, and this like little traveling trio with Ampersand, and this quad trio, this quad travelers. And so all of this is really great. This is really great, like character building, and excuse me, what I've been wanting to see, and what we have been getting bit by bit as the season has gone on, of like this bond building between these characters. And then we also find from the greenhouse, we kind of like pull back from that conversation of 355 and Dr. Mann. And we see the Amazons are now watching the greenhouse. They see that there are lights on in the house. Like, this is something that the Amazons want. And then we get York and not York and 355. We get York and Sonia having breakfast in the morning, having coffee, talking about like what their future plans would have been. Did they ever want kids? Do you take sex super seriously? And we find out York does take it super seriously. He's really only ever, he says he's only ever been with Beth. And that there would have been kids. No reservations, no questions about it, that him and Beth would have had kids eventually. Because that's what, they had talked about, but it wouldn't have been until she had tenure of like whatever her plan after teaching and like the fellowship and stuff that we hear about from her. Then we get we leave the town of Marysville, but we follow back with the Amazons, and now they are at some pool that they are playing. There's some pool, probably some local community pool in Marysville, like some like rec or YMCA rec center or something like that. And so the Amazons have taken over this pool. They're swimming, but they also have built out a little plan of attack, like a little model of what they see this Marysville town being set up as like, you know, a main street where some houses are, and how the Amazons can go in there and attack and defeat the women of Marysville. And this is really great. This is very, again, all of this is from book two. Like this planning and stuff is like from the middle of book two, like because we see the Amazons are moving, trying to find this one last man. What we got at the end of episode two, like with the picture of like York being handed off to Roxanne by Nora, but we get like all of that kind of stuff in the comic as well. It's all very good. Like this it was a lot easier earlier kind of to pinpoint very specific things that they pulled exactly from the comic. Here they kind of pull like moments, and they kind of made some of these moments a little bit like taffy, like they string it out a little bit, and they've strung it out, but they've chopped it up and sprinkled it into a few different episodes. So that's why, like, Ed asked me earlier, one of the earlier episodes, if I've read past like just book one and two, and I was like, no, I've only read and like kind of reread these because I really feel this is where we're gonna be, minus like maybe a couple of threads pulled to link things earlier, like Ed said about 7-Eleven. Anyhow, they are at the pool, and then the old residents of the pool show up, Ruth and Diana. Ruth and Diana show up, guns ablazing, saying, this was our pool, we were only gone for an hour, blah, blah, blah. There's like a whole talk down. Hero talks them down, like, we really like it here. It actually felt very Fight Club. It felt very Tyler Durden, Brad Pitt talking to Lou about keeping the basement is really the feeling and the twinge and like the energy that I got from this particular portion of this scene. And it's really only just a couple of seconds, just like a minute tops. But it really felt like Hero walking up closer and closer to Diane and Ruth, and just like how she was talking. It just really reminded me, really had an echo to that Fight Club scene. Tyler Durden talking to Lou, the bar owner. We really like this place, Lou. You don't know where I've been. Hero did not say anything like that. But other than, we really like this place, like we really like it here. And that's like really the line that like made me click to like Fight Club like that. But so then we get Roxanne does like a classic bar line, like, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here, like, get out of here. The one thing that Ruth and Diana do tell everyone is that the president was shot, and shot in the head. That is why, like, I thought it was really weird at the beginning of this episode, or where I watched it on Hulu, like streaming it on Hulu. I thought it was really weird that we got in the recap of like the whole season and things that have happened up until this point, we got a shot of Regina talking about like, I am the president now, and then they say the president was shot in the head. So automatically, like, there's some confusion there, because like even in the last episode it was Regina, it wasn't Regina, it was really only Regina saying that Regina was president, other than Kim, basically. So again, it's the idea of like, in this, even in a plague apocalyptic, like semi-world ending event, like the idea of communication and keeping like truth, and like the truth is out there and all that stuff, like it gives a good idea of like how all of this is like just really just pure chaos. And it's another thing that like I like later on when we see Jennifer Brown and stuff when she and her speech that she gives a little bit later on in this episode. And then we also get a moment of we get some more, Nora and Hero building those bonds. Like it was started with the seeds like, don't tell them who your mother is. I used to work at the White House. And it's slowly been building and building and building. And I've really liked that relationship. And like that makes I don't know. I just like it. It makes sense for the story. Nora needs to really have a friend here. Hero is also kind of realizing that Roxanne is she agrees with Roxanne to an extent, basically. And it I mean, she agrees to Roxanne. She agrees with Roxanne, but she doesn't trust Roxanne anymore since Roxanne broke her trust, gave her secret away about killing Mike, previous to the plague killing everyone, every man, every person, thing with a Y chromosome. And then we get so we leave the pool, that cools down, and we go back to the tense flashback dinner scene again. And the flashback dinner scene comes and goes throughout the entire episode. It's actually a really great backdrop for Hero, and it's really the flashback scenes in comparison with what we see here in like what I'll call the now of the episode, as opposed to that flashback dinner to like what's going on with the Amazons, with Marysville, with President Jennifer Brown, all of them. It's all really great, and I love the backdrop of this dinner. But we get Beth. She talks about this community sharing things, trying to get back to a more like everybody helps, more communal kind of community. And I'm pretty sure it's that community is the community that she was with the entire time from when the incident happened, the plague started, whatever you want to call it, because they don't really call it anything yet here. They kind of call it an event, an incident, things like that. But there's no like solidified, this is what it's called. And to be fair, they don't really do that either in the comic. Everyone kind of has their own thing for it. So, yeah, like this is really great. I really think that this is who Beth has been with since then. But she talks about them. She talks about having her fellowship. Like she talks about having the fellowship or just getting it. Well, York's actually kind of boasting about Beth getting accepted to the fellowship, talking about possibly having Christmas in Sydney, and Beth is still even like, "Whoa, I don't know if I'm doing the fellowship yet. I don't know if I'm going to go to Australia." And this is basically the series way of writing out her going to Australia, keeping Beth in America in the scenes, and like kind of what we've gotten so far, like with her just kind of popping up outside the gates and then infiltrating, blowing up the whole thing, like where we've seen her the last couple of episodes. So this is like that right around of that. I would have liked, again, like I said, I wanted to see the world expanded, but as of right now for season 1, and with obviously the idea of them not having a season 2 set up right now, it makes sense for them making this, I don't want to say a drastic change, but this change from specifically the beginning of the comic, how it's set up here, to the TV show. And this is really great. This was a little bit better of a part of the conversation, but Hero again kind of stirs the pot a little bit more by asking her dad, like, what are you doing on your phone? What's going on with your phone? And then there's that question, and it's like, what? Jennifer Brown gives like her husband a weird little look, and then they cut to like what is considered the now in the episode, and we get President Jennifer Brown. She is with Beth, and Beth is telling President Jennifer Brown, you need to you need to cut your hair or shave your head. Do you have any razors, scissors, anything like that? Because it is assumed that they are at President Jennifer Brown's house, where like York and Hero used to stay and stuff as well, and that they have retreated there from the Pentagon. Is what you're made to believe, because they, and this is a great scene. This is a great thing because Jennifer Brown calls out Beth for like, so you just came there to just scope me out. We were working on trying to fix problems you didn't even know existed. You can't fix the problems because the system was broken. Beth says back. It's great. It's a great little few minutes there. But Beth very much so stresses that the world is changed out there. Jennifer Brown, and they will kill you. Like, think back to like why I didn't take that coat with the patch on there. Like, they will kill me out there for that, thinking that I can give them answers or give them some sort of hope or get them something that they previously found unavailable to them. And man, was this cool. This was a good scene. Because I say this was a good scene because then after she says that, they cut back to York, 355. They're bonding a bit. They're giving each other a little razzle dazzle, like, I'm not your mother. Quit acting like that. I know you're not my mother, but like, you're kind of like my mother, but just like a super agent, like spy version of her. Not your mother. We can't, like, 355 also says, like, we can't say just because you think it's a pretty girl. And then York, like, unbeknownst to him in 355, Dr. Mann's kind of listening in on this bit of their conversation. And York asks the question, like, do you think Dr. Mann can fix this? Do you think she can actually do this? Like, do you think she can help repopulate the world again? Then Dr. Mann kind of pops in like abruptly and is like, "Hey, I just want to let you know that that the people in town are gonna throw us a party, a going away party, and I don't want you to like kill anyone. So I wanted to give you a heads up now, just in case, because they're throwing it as a surprise. So I don't want you to kill anyone." It's actually a really funny joke by Dr. Mann, because we all know like 355 is totally capable of, if there was a party going on like that or like surprise happening to her, that she could totally take that the wrong way and absolutely kill somebody from it. So after that, we get back to the dinner scene again. We get Hero kind of being grilled by her dad. And like her brother, like, we don't see you that often. Hero's dating someone. Hero, when are you gonna go back to school? From her dad, like, if you wait too long, it's gonna just be more and more difficult to go back. And they kind of lean into her, and then finally, Hero, excuse me, finally Hero, and Jesus, how many times am I going to say this? Hero answers them and admits that she is dating Mike, who was the paramedic, who has a pregnant wife, and it starts again like it's a thing now, because Jennifer Brown is like, you got to end this. Like, I'm a congresswoman. Like, I can't have my daughter, who they've implied earlier in the season had a DUI, probably shortly before that. This could actually be the night of the, no, this wouldn't be the night of the DUI, because that was like at a Christmas party. This was just a dinner. So that DUI would have happened earlier, even before this dinner party. And that might actually make sense for why Jennifer Brown thought that her daughter had quit smoking cigarettes, because she was clearly being clean from like alcohol and drugs at that point, supposedly. It all makes sense. And but anyhow, so Hero admits that she's sleeping with Mike, the paramedic, who she kills later on. From this point in here, she admits that he has a wife, she's pregnant. And then she kind of explodes on her dad, being like, "Who you texting over there? Who you texting over there? You don't have my back. Why should I have your back? Like, you're having sex with your TA, and like, you guys are grilling me about this. Like, come on." And Jennifer Brown, actually, I think this is when Jennifer Brown actually gives her husband that like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill you" look. Then we move back to after this dinner scene, like you don't have my back. Like it ends with Hero basically saying, you guys don't have my back. I don't have like you don't have my back. Why should I have your back? Like, damn, that's some heavy stuff. That's some heavy like things going on there, and this episode was a heavy hitter. I mean, it's a season finale. It's a season finale. You got to leave it all out there so that you know that there's no question that you guys get picked up for a second season. Why lives on? Why lives on? And I love this episode. It was so good. I love this series. I love the comic book. This was like a no brainer for me. For every little bit of it involved. So yeah, God, it's so good. So but then after this flashback dinner scene, we get back to Jennifer Brown, Beth in a house, or in the house at night. They're getting ready to leave because obviously it's always safer to travel at night. You can hide in the shadows, things like that. But at the same time, other people can hide in the shadows and get you. So with that being said, there's clear glass breaking and somebody enters the house. The doors were locked, or whoever enters didn't check all the doors before trying to enter the house. We find out it is Sam. Sam is tased by Beth, but Jennifer Brown and Beth say sorry to Sam. They didn't mean to attack him or anything. Like they all know Sam. They like Sam. Sam's a decent dude for all intents and purposes. They're clearly wondering where Hero is. He says that he had to leave Hero, but she's with some like weird people. They get ready to leave. Before they get ready to leave, Sam asks, "Is that your van around the corner?" Beth says the house is being watched. They try and leave. Boom, boom. Lights turn on. Spoilers. It's the Culper ring. The people who run, 355 really. Not the people, not like any super nefarious people, but they are pretty, we don't know. They're sketchy at best. Sketchy at best. And so they show up and take Sam, Beth, and Jennifer Brown away. Then we go, so from that, we're still in the now, we go visit the Amazons. Now, this is the portion that I will call like the night before, because we get a little bit of night before there. We get a little bit of night before with the Amazons, and then we get a little bit of night before with the people of Marysville. Okay, there we go. That might be better. So we start out with the night before with the Amazons, and they're having a pool party. Again, we get more of the Nora and Hero bonding, like, really having each other's backs here, because again, it's about trust. Who can I trust? Who do I want to be? Who can I trust? And then who do I want to be with? Like put the people around me, not necessarily like Hero and Nora like love each other and going to be in a relationship, but I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. But like, who do I want to be with? Who do I want in my circle? Like, who are my people? Who do I want to be around? Who do I trust? Who can I say stuff to with wanting confidentiality and getting it from that? And the one person that she has been able to get that without any doubt of any kind has been Nora. Because from the beginning, Nora has told her, "I know who you are. Do not tell anyone who your mother is. No, no, no. Don't do that." And so that's really, really great. Like, I really like that. And of course, Roxanne is giving them crap and stuff. But right before that, Nora says that she had changed her name. And I called back in episode 2, what if Nora is Victoria? This episode is called Victoria. Nora's been a heavy hitter. Episode like 3 on, she's been like a mainstay, like a real go-getter. Like, she's been a really interesting character. I love her and Mac. I love that they have that they travel together. I love it. So I wonder if Nora is Victoria, And guess what? If she's Victoria, that is the true leader of the Amazons from the comics. We don't know, but I asked this question in episode 2. Asked it 8 episodes ago. Um, I don't know. It makes me feel good though that I was asking the right questions, that I was watching it the right way. Like, because asking that question then, and then hearing this now is like ultimate payoff for me. Is being like, could it be? Could it be? And what, like, does this make sense narratively? And yes, I think it does. So oh man, it was a really great payoff again in the idea of like the show kind of being on its own, because like when we're in, because we don't really have a Nora in the comic. We only have Victoria. We don't even have a Roxanne in the comic of the Amazons. We only have a Victoria who is close with Hero. Actually, now that I say that, maybe she really is Victoria. Then we go to, or actually, right before, during the confrontation of Roxanne and Nora, we get Nora telling Roxanne, "Don't you talk to me like that." And it's at this point, right before Nora says, "I thought we were celebrating and having a party," and jumps into the pool. For the first time, Nora also kind of looks like Victoria does in the comic. She has this like long gown and this coat kind of on, and like she just kind of looks like her. So is that like the trifecta of details? I don't know. Possibly. We do get an answer though to it later on in the episode. I'm just withholding it for right now. As you know, R.I.P. Jessica Walters from Arrested Development. Oh, I guess I'm just being withholding. And so the Morrisville then, the night before, because the battle is happening. Like, this is straight from the comics. The battle, the raid from the Amazons attacking the women of Morrisville. It's straight from the comics. If you didn't read the comics, sorry. If you, for whatever reason, are watching this before you actually watched the season finale, sorry about that spoiler. But I mean, everything about this has been spoilers. Like, we're trying to compare the show to the comic. Like, come on now. But nonetheless, sorry about that. But the battle is happening. It is coming, and so here we get Dr. Mann and 355. Or, well, first we see a more intimate party between, like, the women there. Whereas, like, the pool party was a little bit more celebratory and a little bit more crazy. This is a little bit more intimate. It's more like high school, like, dance, like, slow music, lights turn low, just kind of hanging out, like, rocking back and forth kind of stuff. We have Dr. Mann and 355 upstairs in a bedroom. They are getting themselves ready because they've decided that they are going to leave. But this was really good because we also get, like I said, the traveling trio is, you know, Dr. Mann, York, and 355, and they all bond. The three of them all bond together, but then they each bond with each other. Like, York and Mann have bonding moments. Mann and 355 have bonding moments. 355 and York have bonding moments. And this is a 355 Dr. Mann bonding moment. And it's really sweet. It's really nice. Dr. Mann kind of gets a little, kind of bears it a little bit. In the idea, she asked the question because she heard what they were talking about earlier. Of, can she do that? And she poses the question to 355, can I do this? What if I can't do this? What if I'm not the answer? What if I'm not, like, the badass that we all think and want and kind of need me to be? What if I can't be this person? What if I can't do this? And 355's like, well, you were one of the smartest people, you know, in the country. You were in that conversation for sure. So at a minimum, you got to give it a try, right? Like, if there is somebody who could do it, you are one of them. Because you're one of the smartest people in the country, in this field to try and do something like this. Like, don't get me wrong, you know, 355 is like doesn't necessarily say it, but it's like she's like, don't get me wrong, not many people can do it, but you were one of the few people who can, so you have to at least give it a try. Like, you know, and it's great. Like, that's a great little conversation. It's a great little confidence booster. It, like, you know, brings them together so much so that then 355, or I'm sorry, 355 lays down on the bed. Dr. Mann is still standing there. Dr. Mann gets up and like cuddles 355, and like they're there. Like, Dr. Mann asks like, is this okay? 355 says, yeah, that's fine, or, you know, it's good, whatever. But they become each other's anchors in a weird way here. You know, Dr. Mann is doing, because she even says, you know, I'm not a 10-pound sandbag, but, you know, I'm better than nothing. And like 355 laughs at that, and like they have a moment here, that, you know, a bonding moment. Like, they're here to help, because earlier at the greenhouse, Dr. Mann says, we were talking like people here. Like, why are you trying to make us leave? Why are you trying to make us leave? Like, you know, we have a place to stay. York likes it here. We can make it here. We can do things here for now. But despite Dr. Mann also knowing that she needs her real lab to conduct the experiments, not just have him like live here with some of the women. Um, they need to be able to take his DNA, replicate it, try and clone it, whatever it is. There's all kinds of different things that they can lead to try and do at like Dr. Mann's lab in San Francisco. So like it's really interesting, exciting. It's really interesting, exciting stuff that they do in the comic here, and this like the idea of 355 continuing trying to make them want to move is also very exciting, because that still leaves that stuff complete as a possibility, as opposed to being staying comforted, finding home, or like a place to like make it or whatever in Marysville, because they still have a mission. They have to at least try, and it's great. Then we get the York and Sonya conversation, and this is all straight book two stuff. Like, Sonya asks like, where will you go? York is like, yeah, we're going to San Francisco, but I'll miss all of you guys here. Like, I'll always remember you. And Sonya says, you don't have to feel guilty about like staying here or wanting to be here. Like, you know, it's okay to like want that, to make friends. Like, you can miss Beth, but you can also make new friends along the way. And it is it's a really sweet, nice conversation that leads to York kissing Sonya exactly just like in the comics. That all happens, you know, right here, book 2. It all happens right in there, and it's pretty crazy. I shouldn't say it's pretty crazy, but like it's great that we saw such a direct pull from like the comic and the book originally to the show. Obviously, it happened a little bit differently, but like them getting together, making out, eventually sleeping together, which is what we find out that they do. That all happens in the comic. It's all pretty like it all happens in there, and it's great. I love that this show really has done Eliza Clark and and like the rest of the writing team and like that writers room. They did a really great job of taking things to make it taffy, and then cut up the taffy and drop it, and from the comic, and what they did a really great job of what to pull, what not to pull, where the things that they did pull that there was more room to play with. Like I said, make it taffy, stretch it out a little bit, and this was really good. This is a really solid made show. I know I had some reservations about it. I'll get to the end of that at the end of this. Let me continue with this. So that again, you know, they have a kiss, but before they have the kiss, as they're having like the conversation about don't feel guilty about this place, Sonya bears it all as well. She lets York know that she killed somebody, admits to that she still feels guilty, that she wants life to be more than just big moments, because otherwise the biggest moment for her, or really the only moment for her, is stuff pre her killing someone and stuff post killing someone, because it's life altering stuff there. And it's a really interesting conversation that they have that eventually leads to the kiss, that eventually leads to them sleeping together. Then we go back to the Amazons. It's the morning of the raid, and we actually get it's the morning of, but it's really a Mac and Nora moment. And Mac and Nora have a really sweet mother-daughter moment. Mac finds out that she has her first period. She, gets up, leaves a towel, goes to the bathroom, takes care of business in there. Nora sees Mac get up and walk off. She finds the towel. They have the conversation. Oh, congratulations, you're a woman now. You should be proud. And it's like, why would proud of what? Why am I a woman now? And Nora's like, that's what my mother said to me and stuff. And but they do have that good, you're a woman now. I want, Nora gives Mac her wedding ring, and it's like, this is for you. I want you to remember your father and your brother, with this, you're a strong woman now. You are a woman now. You will be a great woman. And Max says, you kind of sound like Roxanne. And Nora's like, no, Roxanne sounds like me. And I'm telling you, it's right here where I think Nora is really Victoria, and she's gonna kill Roxanne. I also said she was gonna kill Roxanne in episode 6 or something. But after this great Mac and Nora moment, because we haven't had those in a while, we haven't had one of those in a while, we have Kim. Kim is having a wild sex dream about York. And that's the only way to describe it. Because, York is in there, they're clearly in the Pentagon still. It's really weird. Kim's breasts start to leak. And just liquid is running down them, and it's she wakes up from it. She aggressively has sex with York in this dream. She wakes up, she brushes some hay off of her mouth. We see Christine with a little baby bump, because Christine's laying on her back in the barn or stable, wherever they're at. Christine is showing her baby bump a little bit more, and we get Kim waking up Christine, wake up, wake up. Oh, is somebody here? Did somebody find us? No, we're fine. We just need to find York. He's our future. And she has this really crazed look in her eye. I'm talking about Kim. Christine has a very worried look in her eye. And this is the only bit we get of them. Because after this little bit, we need them. Our future is York. Kim is saying, our future is York, and it kind of zooms in a little bit on her, and then we cut to back to the raid, and it's about to go down in Morrisville here, and we have everybody waking up in Morrisville. We have the Amazons walking in, 3:55, and man, hear the gunshots. 3:55 sees before that, 3:55 wakes up and sees the Culper ring tracker. The Amazons are riding in and announcing themselves. Some gunshots happen. 3:55 is getting dressed. Man wakes up to the gunshots, and all of this is crazy. It's happening here. Once the Amazons ride in, Roxanne announces herself. I hear you have a man in town. Janice, there's one person, one of the women there, and it's like, what the F is this? What's going on? Here you have a man in town. Where is he? The woman doesn't react the way Roxanne would think, that if they don't have a man in town, that, A man? Are you kidding me? All the men are dead, is the reaction she would have expected. She didn't get that reaction. So she knows that there is a man here in town. And it's a really interesting bit of what happens in the episode. It's just very interesting in it, because she could have lied, but she doesn't. She hesitates. So then, like, that's where, like, Roxanne calls her, like, a traitor, tell us where he is, bring him out to us, and all of this stuff. Um, that woman gets hit in the leg with the butt of a gun by one of the Amazon women, and Janice comes out, does the gunfire that 355 and man wakes up to. If you're gonna hurt somebody, hurt me. Roxanne, who are you? Are you the leader or something in here? 355 is running down after Roxanne says, like, who are you, the leader? Like, and Janice says, if you're gonna hurt anyone, hurt me. 355 sees York and Sonya getting dressed. Asks Sonya if there's a weapon. Nobody can see him. York says, like, we can, like, they all are trying to get together. There's still some, like, back and forth going on. The different women of Morrisville kind of start popping up a little bit, showing up to, like, defend themselves. Nora kind of catches a little bit of them, like, catches some of the other women looking around. York, then we get York, Man, 355, Sonya, they're all getting themselves together. York says we can all leave together. We can go now. 355 says, no, you need to leave me here. I'm staying here. York's like, no, I'm not leaving you. You will leave me here. York, Man, and it's Sonya finally escape out the back once Hero and Nicole show up on a horse. 355 and the other person in the house surrender out the front door as Hero goes around back just to check, and then she hears, like, a couple of twig snaps from, like, the forest lane behind the house. So she goes down there while Athena and Nicole take 355 and the other person in the house to Roxanne to, go get their whole reckoning and everything. And then here is where the true shootout happens. We get a bunch of interchangeable cuts. The shootout starts. We get Dominique screaming, C block, let's go. We get 355 gets the chance to take the gun from Athena, shoots at the foot of Nicole's horse. Nicole gets thrown off the horse. Athena is hit in the face. 355 and the other person that was in the house take off towards the town to go, like, be, like, reinforcements and everything. Nora and Mac work together. Nora's like, no, Mac, you stay there. And then Mac says, no, Mom, I'm a strong woman. I can do this. So then Nora grabs a gun from a but she's an injured Amazon. She's shot in, like, the upper chest region, like, right here, basically. And Nora grabs that gun to give cover fire as Mac drags her to move the hurt Amazon behind another tipped over a picnic bench. Hero rides down to her brother, and Sonya shooting at Dr. Mann, Sonya and her brother. Then York turns around, and York and Hero meet eyes for the first time since episode 1, when he shows up to her NA meeting, or AA meeting, and asks for $100. Yeah. First time they see each other, probably since that moment. And they even then were fighting. So it's, like, really interesting that they come guns a-blazing, and then she turns, sees her brother, and they're still like, you have to get out of here. Mom's dead. The Amazons are coming for you. Like, I'm not going to kill you because you're my brother, and I just love that you're alive. But despite everything I've said, like, we get all of this without any of it being said. Excuse me. from Hero. Hero believes that men deserve to be punished, but in the end, she doesn't believe that her brother or even like her father deserve to be punished. She truly thinks that they were decent people, and we got a little bit of that, and we got a little bit of not. Like she's very conflicted about her family, which is fair. A lot of people can be. A lot of people are. Again, that's adding a better layer to Hero here of where I'm really liking her a lot more. I've really enjoyed, like I really did not like Hero from episode 1 to episode 3. Around episode 4, 5, and 6 is where my Hero um, my thoughts on Hero started to change, and I started to like her a little bit more going forward. Um, so then we get the whole mom's dead, oh my god, breakdown. Nicole shows up, guns a blazing, starts shooting, ends up hitting Sonya in the head. Hero kills Nicole by shooting her like right underneath her, like probably right through the lungs and the heart right here, on her left hand side. Not like Nicole falls over off of like forward on the horse. Then we get to the flashback dinner. We're in the final bit now here, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate you guys joining me. We're going long. This is the season finale, possibly the series finale. Why lives on? Why lives on? I don't want it to be the series finale. So why lives on? Actually, let me take a time. Ed has also like he's clearly not here like I thought, like I had originally said he was going to be. Again, he is taking care of some business that he needed to take care of, so he's not here. However, Ed and I are gonna do a predictions, and we're gonna do a predictions of what we think should happen in season 2 of Why the Last Man, because Why lives on. So we are gonna do that. We're gonna release that in a little bit. We might even release that sometime in 2022 as maybe something to look forward to or something to hope for in 2022. Um, or anyhow, that'll be something that we'll do later on, but we are going to do that, and I'm really excited about that as well. But he's not here for this episode. He's taking care of some stuff. Beside the point, back to the dinner flashback and getting back into this extended episode. Yorick, Beth, and Hero are now outside of the dinner scene. Yorick's like pretty angry, pretty like worked up about stuff from like what Hero had just said. And yeah, from like what Hero had just said inside about dad and like cheating on the TA. Hold on, I didn't even say that, did I? Yeah, so part of the not having the back thing was also Hero talking about how nobody has her back and how her dad is sleeping with a TA. No, I did say that. I did mention that stuff. Why am I losing my mind here? Losing my mind. Sorry, everybody. But this dinner flashback, yeah, we're in the home stretch here. Dinner flashback, York, Beth, and Hero are outside. Yorick is really mad, angry. If we ever have kids, promise me we're not gonna, mess them up like this. Sam arrives as the car does, and Yorick's like, "Car's here." Beth is telling Sam he's tired. We're getting out of here. Sorry. And Sam's like, "Oh, I thought we were all going to get drinks." Sam goes over to Hero and is like, "What the hell happened? What's going on here?" Hero says that she messed up. Now, in my notes here, I asked, like, did this dinner happen before the series? Clearly it did. That's a silly question. But what I really meant is, did this happen before, like, episode 1? Like, I'm talking, like, days, maybe a week, 2 weeks prior to the first episode. I think it could be. I think it is. Because that would lead to Hero wanting Mike to, like, either leave his wife or leave her. Which is like kind of some motivation we see for what eventually happens with Hero, killing Mike. But we leave that flashback. It's the last time we visit that dinner scene flashback, and we get back to the shootout. 355 has arrived in town. She gets another gun. She starts sniping people from the roof who were about to shoot Dominique. Roxanne sees this, or sees the aftermath of it, of that shot, and sees where that shot came from, goes beelining right for 355. Roxanne runs out of ammo. 355 takes Roxanne into her sights, and Nora jumps out and surrenders for the Amazons. This is big. Roxanne is pissed, like, no, we don't surrender. Well, and Roxanne's like, no, we surrender. Janice stops the shooting as well, because Janice, despite what anyone might think of all of these former women prisoners from that prison living in Marysville, and hearing from, Sonia, that it was a an us versus them kind of thing for, like, the town. There is some rules here to how they run things there, which is neat and cool that they have, like, she's like, no, they surrender. They're done shooting. We're done shooting too. We're not doing this. We're not worse than the people who put us in there. Like, we're better than them. Like, we have learned. We have changed. In that, and like you don't hear Janice say any of that, but you get all of that from Janice saying, no, we stop. They surrender. We stop. And then we cut back to we leave the town, but we're still with the Amazons. Roxanne leaves, and then we see, after, like, Janice says everyone stop shooting, Roxanne is all mad, huffing and puffing, leaves. Then we see Nora destroying, like, the locker room or the dress room or whatever from that local pool that they're at. She's throwing a garbage can around, tearing things apart. All of this stuff. Finally, Hero walks in once Nora has calmed down. Hero walks in and confesses that her brother is still alive. And this isn't like a transgender thing. Like, her brother is for real alive. And Nora knows who her brother is. Knows York because she knows who Hero is. She knows him. She knows him because she worked at the White House. This is some heavy stuff. Like, this is some big stuff. Like, that's a big thing to share. Because the Amazons are looking to kill every man as of right now. And Nora, despite having that closeness with Hero here, Hero doesn't really know if that's the move, but she does it anyhow, and she tells her. And it's a really nice, heartwarming moment, because then Nora and Roxanne get into it again. Roxanne is yelling, I can't believe we surrendered. The warriors, or the Amazons, would have died. There's the biggest coward of them all. Again, really bullying Nora, being the bully, being the abuser that she is. And Nora finally calls Roxanne out on it. She calls her out, says, like, you know what? I was told this before. I did all of this that you're telling all of us to do now. I changed my name. My name was Victoria. My mother gave it to me. And I asked that in episode 2. If Nora is secretly somehow, like, is Nora short for Victoria, a nickname for it? And I was right. We get it right here. And beautiful. I loved it. Because, like, to be fair, we don't live with Victoria that long, like, in the comics. Like we get her, we get bits, but the bits of the Amazons are usually with involved with Hero. We don't learn who necessarily Victoria is by herself. Because Victoria, in the Battle of Marysville, dies. She is killed by getting a axe to the head. Yeah. Ooh, it's brutal. It is a brutal thing, but it is freaking amazing when we get it. Here it is. So that is Victoria's death in book 2 of Y: The Last Man. Um, it's really great. Like that, like I said, that's a kind of brutal death there. But so we get it. We get it. Nora admits that she is um, that she was Victoria. She calls out Roxanne for being abusive, that she's heard it her whole life, every single man. Nora pulls out a gun and shoots Roxanne into the pool dead. And who in episode 6, I asked if Roxanne would be killed by Nora for pushing Nora a little too much, crossing that line a little too much. And we got it. Again, awesome. Makes so much sense. I hated Roxanne. I hated her. It's not even like Kim, where like Kim I think is kind of losing her marbles a little bit, but I don't know like many people who wouldn't given the situation that Kim's living in. But Kim like wants to repopulate the world and like kind of get the world back. So like as crazy as I find Kim to be, I actually think she has some merit in the idea of what she wants, the goal that she wants to attain in repopulating the earth. I think it's a good idea to have in this situation. So I don't think she's necessarily crazy, but I also agree with what they're doing with Yorick and Dr. Man and 355 of like taking him and Ampersand as well, because like that's the other thing. Maybe with Yorick and Ampersand, they can save like a whole bunch of different kinds of stuff, and maybe not just like humans, but like get animals and stuff going in there as well. You don't know. Um, but getting way off the point here. Nora calls out Roxanne, kills Roxanne. I loved it. All of the other Amazons, minus Hero, pull their guns and aim them at Nora here. And Nora gives a new speech saying that Roxanne was just like any of the rest of the men who abused us, wanted us to be what she wanted us to be. What we are going to do as Amazons is we are going to show them who we are, just who we are, not what we want to be, but who we are, and we will make everyone learn to fear us. And that was like a bone chilling kind of speech. And that really felt like Victoria from the comics. And I also said I thought Victoria earlier on, I don't remember which episode, could have even been as early as episode like 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever, where I thought Victoria was British. Maybe I read that wrong. And like maybe I need to like really just focus on reading the Victoria parts again and see how I read that. But I could have sworn that Victoria and I mean I guess it makes sense. Nora gives Roxanne tea because that was one of the things. That was like one of the things that I was like, oh yeah, she's British because she talks about tea and asks for it all the time. But you know, Nora does give tea to Roxanne in this. Wow, maybe that was like your first hint, Eliza Clark. I would love to ask you some questions about this show, Miss Eliza Clark. I would love to. So if you ever watch this, please, I will. I would gladly love to talk to you more about this. Beside the point, they pull out the guns. Nora gives a really impassionate, really great speech about we will make them fear us for who we are, not because we are anything else other than ourselves. And it's a really great speech. And then we get the silo finale. You know, like this is post shootout now, so 355 reunites with Dr. Mann and Yorick in a silo that they were supposed to meet with Sonya at. But Sonya obviously, unfortunately, didn't make it. Dr. Mann fills, 355 in. His mom's dead, Sonya's dead, and his sister bailed. Yorick, tells 355, my sister's brainwashed. Like the Pentagon, my mother being dead. It's all my fault. I should have died, and none of this would have happened. My mother wouldn't have died from the Pentagon. Hero wouldn't have been brainwashed, and that, all of this bad stuff never would have happened. And 355 gives the complete story of all of those like sleepwalking dreams that she's been having. And we find out that her grandma took her to a club, to a jazz club, to a club. It was one of the best nights of her life. Her parents came home, 355, and her grandma weren't there. They go out looking. A drunk driver hops lanes and kills her parents, her grandma, and she is the sole survivor. So she felt like that wasn't fair. That 355 felt like that wasn't fair. That she shouldn't have been able to go on or move forward after all of that pain, but she does. So then she tells York, based off of that, like, York, if your mother really is dead, I worked for the president, and if she's no longer alive to give orders, I can't take anything from her. So if you don't want to continue on to San Francisco like we were going to, you don't have to. Dr. Mann kind of like tries to butt in at first, and 355 just throws up her hand like, give me a minute here. Or if you want to continue, we can continue, and we can just do this just to try and make a better life and bring back life and do this. And Yorick chooses to do it. He chooses to step up. He chooses to not be a liability. He wants 355 to train him, and in that, 355 says prove it. And it's the last thing we see of 355, York, and Dr. Mann. They're still, he's going to be trained, and they are still going to make their way to San Francisco. Then we get the Kolper ring. They're holding Sam, Beth, President Jennifer Brown. We pull back from where they're being held in there, and from their like cell from the video camera, we see the other agent 525 be introduced there. She's eating something. So now we see everything about 525 was set up. Like it had to have been a setup. Or 525 did what she said she was going to do and actually found Fran. But the person that is standing behind 525, she does not call Fran. She's just having a casual conversation like two coworkers would. Like, hey, so do you want me to go in there? Or no, we should give it some time, I believe is what it was said. And oh man, is this it was so good. It was so good. I lied about the end of the episode, but this is the end of where we see. This is where we leave Beth, Doctor President Jennifer Brown, and Sam is with the Culper ring 525, and who we assume is Fran, could be Fran, and what Ed also alluded to in earlier episodes could be 7-Eleven. I really go hard on that. I agree with Ed like 110%. I think this unknown woman that we first got introduced to last episode in episode 9 in like those weird 355 flashbacks, I really think it's there that's Fran, because that seems to be the person who recruited her, but not her handler, as we find out. Her handler was a man. Or as we saw, like her handler was a man or whatever, but the person who recruited her was a woman who could have been this Fran, who also could be 7-Eleven. Then we also get 355, Dr. Mann, and York, and Amp. They leave the silo, follow the tracker to a car. The car has a full tank of gas. It has all the equipment, or it has beginner equipment for Dr. Mann to be able to take blood samples and things like that. Full tank of gas, and what 355 assumes is coordinates to come into the Culper ring to eventually be reunited with President Jennifer Brown, Sam, and Beth, hopefully, but definitely to get York in, because it's clear that the Culper ring have been following 355 and like scoping out and seeing what they've been doing. And clearly the blow up in Ohio was big enough to cause the Culper ring to be like, no, we need to pull some people in right now. And then they get into the car, they load up with ampersand, and they drive off. And that's really how the season ends. It's very sad. FX decided not to renew um, Y the Last Man for a season 2 with them, which is really sad. It's currently being so Y lives on. It's currently being shopped around um, by Eliza Clark and like her team who brought it there and everything. Like FX wasn't like this wasn't a bad thing with FX. Like I guess it was FX didn't want to put up X amount of money. Like it wasn't an issue about viewership or anything. Like I guess it did like pretty solid numbers and everything for them. It was just a lot of money post pandemic that FX I don't know didn't feel was there. Couldn't part ways with whatever. So I'm hoping that this show gets picked up by somebody else, maybe HBO Max, because this was originally, published by Vertigo Comics, and Vertigo was owned and underneath, like an arm or a publishing like arm, part of an umbrella, whatever, of DC Comics. The Vertigo has since been shut down now, but yeah, I really hope this comes back. I loved this show. It was really good. I definitely had issues with Hero, but from beginning to end, they stuck the landing with Hero, in my opinion. I am now into Hero. I want to see more of her. I was always in for York. I think Ben has done a great job capturing him. Amber, who plays Kim, also amazing job. Diane Lane, I think I said it before. She's amazing, one of the single greatest actresses to ever grace our screens. So seeing her come back is just a must. Sam, he's got to come back. That way, he was really great. Beth was really great. Again, we from the beginning we had said, even despite like some of the issues that I had with Hero's arc is really the only issue I had. There was some things like I think between the first 3 episodes, I feel like those could have been done maybe a little bit. No, not the first 3. I'd say probably episodes 2, 3, and 4. I probably maybe were the iffiest on, but then 5, 6, and 7 really kind of kicked things into gear, and then 8, 9, and 10 have been fantastic hours of 45-minute hours worth of television. It's been really great. It's been so good. I know this is a super duper long episode. I'm almost at an hour and 20 minutes here, so I am going to wrap this up. But I got to say again, whether you can find the single floppy issues of Y the Last Man, or whether you can find the collected editions here in trade paperbacks, or maybe they even do like more omnibuses, like a bunch more of like which is like 2 or 3 like trade paperbacks together. However you can find it, even digitally, I'm sure it's out there. Find it, read it, go watch the show again, let me know what you think. I would love to see what people thought about it. But yeah, I'm really excited about this. I loved this show. Why the Last Man was really great. I really hope this show lives on a new network, new streamer, whatever it is. This is a show that needs to continue on. It is really good. It is really awesome. It was great. Like I I loved it. I loved everything that they talked about. I loved that they had cisgender people in here. They had transgender people in here. They had literally a little bit of everything in here, and it was great. I loved it. It was awesome. This was a great show about asking who you want to be after a catastrophic event. And Why the Last Man, the TV show by Eliza Clark and like the rest of like her directors and writers and like crew and stuff there, they did it. They did a really great job here. I'm really sad that it hasn't been renewed yet for a season 2, but Why lives on, and we will do a predictions or a hopeful season 2, what we would like to see in season 2 episode as well here in a little bit. In the meantime, please check back to our playlist for the playlist for Why the Last Man, our commentary track comparison. My name's Jimmy Clark. Thank you again for joining me here on this Why the Last Man commentary track comparison, episode 10, season 1 finale. We love doing this. We're going to have other shows like this where we can compare comics and books of things that are going on. And we're really excited about all of this. But thank you for joining me. I have definitely taken up enough of your guys' time today. Why lives on. You guys stay safe. Thanks. Have a great day.